Meri Brown asserts that she and Kody Brown's relationship is a roller coaster. In just a few weeks, Sister Wives viewers will be able to reconnect with the Browns. In an interview conducted before to season 20, Meri Brown discussed her and Kody Brown's current positions. Meri Brown and her ex-husband, Kody Brown, have maintained a considerable physical separation. Meri left Flagstaff, Arizona, after her and Kody's spiritual separation and moved to Parowan, Utah, where she opened a small company. Meri moved on after completing a spiritual divorce hundreds of miles away. She expanded both her business and her circle of friends, and she even started dating. She still maintains some degree of touch with Kody, most likely for Sister Wives' sake. Meri recently disclosed that their relationship is still turbulent even after the divorce. The relationship remains unchanged. Meri Brown has been rebuilding her life without Kody Brown for the past 2.5 years. She has at least reconstructed her life without incorporating Kody Brown into her daily routine. The former polygamist maintains communication with her ex-husband despite being divorced. Although they're no longer married, Meri claims that their chemistry isn't all that different. Meri Brown participated in an interview for I Do, Part 2 before to the premiere of Season 20 of Sister Wives. Meri disclosed during the conversation that her marriage had been an emotional roller coaster. She claimed that she and Kody had both very low lows and amazing highs. Meri continued by saying that nothing has changed as a result of the divorce. Although that sounds awful, Meri appears to be completely happy with the way things are right now. She claimed that their connection, when they connect, is erratic and full of both good and bad times. Since she is no longer spiritually obligated to the former polygamist, she is likely to find it easier to cope with him. Meri Brown was obviously wounded by Kody throughout their lengthy, icy marriage, but she doesn't appear to have any resentment at the moment. Indeed, Meri appears to have achieved a great deal of peace and is even prepared to give her ex-husband praise. She described her ex-husband as charismatic during her podcast interview, and she acknowledged that she doesn't think Kody is a bad person. She continued by saying that while she wishes him well, she acknowledges that their morals simply do not coincide. Her portrayal of Kody is the most impartial one an ex-wife has yet to adopt toward the reality TV villain. Kody's second ex-wife, Janelle Brown, has made an effort to be forthright but compassionate about her sentiments for her ex. She no longer communicates with Kody. It's evident that Janelle doesn't want to become friends with him or his fourth wife. She candidly stated at a recent tell-all that she doesn't like Kody or Robyn Brown. The one who left and remarried first, Christine Brown, is still the most resentful and irate. She told horrific tales of her time with Kody in her most recent memoir, completely destroying him. More impartial Sister Wives viewers have questioned why Christine is still so upset so long after actually moving on, while Kody's harshest detractors have encouraged the mother of 6. In fact, because of that, some have questioned whether her current marriage is stable. But Kody Brown, star of Sister Wives, stated that Robyn Brown, his tender wife, could never participate in the mean elements of his new show, Special Forces, World's Toughest Test. Robyn wanted to talk about the potential of joining the Fox reality series when he initially approached her about it, but she quickly realized that she had lost Kody to the notion, the reality show actress told Access Hollywood. It dawned on the Sister Wives star that her hubby was already set on doing the show. "I'm not going to stop this from happening," she finally told him. Kody first said that Robyn was too tender to compete on the show in an interview with Entertainment Tonight. He seemed to change his mind, though, according to Access Hollywood. Kody said, "I've witnessed Robyn give birth, so I am aware of how resilient she is. Because she gave birth to children without complaining. However," he added, "this is a pretty cruel environment, and she is a very gentle spirit." Kody Brown acknowledged that he and Robyn Brown, his legal wife, have a special affinity. Meri Brown, Janelle Brown, and Christine Brown were his prior spiritual spouses. "Robyn loves that about me," Kody said, acknowledging that he is inherently vulnerable. "I lay my burdens at her feet, and she's sweet about it." But as each of Kody's former wives departed their polygamous family, their bond was put to the test. Kody said his family struggled to continue to be a team, and that's why. "In the dissolving of our family, there was a tendency for all of us to blame the other person, he stated. Everybody has to be accountable for their part in it. According to a press release from TLC, Season 20 dives deep into the Browns' efforts to rebuild their lives both separately and together. From awkward first dates to emotional confrontations, Sister Wives explores whether this once unified family can finally move forward without the bitterness and blame that's defined them for so long. Additionally, Kody apologizes directly to each of his ex-partners for his previous inappropriate actions in an effort to mend fences. He has separate meetings with Christine, Mary, and Janelle to make long-overdue apologies. The show will also resolve the family's disagreements around the fair distribution of their Coyote Pass property in Flagstaff, Arizona, according to a new teaser. In addition, Janelle asks Mary to assist her in requesting a spiritual release from their church elders so that she can formally move on from Kody. Sister Wives Season 20 opens on TLC on Sunday, September 28, 2025 at 10 p.m. Eastern Time, while Special Forces premieres on Fox on Thursday, September 25, 2025 at 9 p.m. Eastern Time. But on a cool morning in Flagstaff, Sister Wives cameras rolled. Christine, seated at the kitchen table with her laptop and a notepad, had a look of excitement and resolve on her face. She had followed the family's plans for years, always letting Kody's larger vision take precedence over her own, but this time, things were going to be different. She said in her private confessional, "I want to run my own business my way. This time, it's mine. It's personal. For too long, I've had to compromise, wait for everyone else to agree, and then watch things fall apart because we couldn't stay united." What had started as a side interest turned into a full-fledged potential when Christine, who liked cooking, shared recipes with her fans online and received an enormous reaction. People wanted to purchase her own spice blends, cookbooks, and even frozen dinners. "I'm starting a business, a food brand. It's going to have my recipes, my style, and my heart. And I'm doing it without waiting for anyone else's approval," she declared during a family gathering. "Christine, we've always run things as a family. Businesses need oversight, structure, and unity. You can't just go rogue," Kody said with a quick scowl and his arms crossed tightly. "Actually, I think she can. Christine's got the drive, and honestly, we all know the family business ideas in the past haven't worked because too many cooks were in the kitchen. Let her take the lead," Janelle said, leaning forward with a supporting smile. "I know what it feels like to want independence. When I started my bed and breakfast, I didn't get support. It hurt. Christine, if this is what you want, then you should do it. Don't let anyone stop you," Mary said, after first being silent. "I just don't understand why we're moving further and further apart. We should be focusing on the family, not individual ventures," Robyn said, shaking her head slightly, but her expression conveyed a different message. In a later confessional, Christine's eyes were filled with tears, but her voice was firm. "I've sacrificed enough. I've supported Kody's dreams, Robyn's needs, the family's chaos. Now I want something for myself. I want to prove to myself and to my kids that I can succeed on my own terms." The tension was high, but Christine wasn't backing down. Christine started her business online a few weeks later, and orders came in within hours. She packaged spice jars with her daughters, filmed cooking tutorials, and joyfully celebrated each milestone. For the first time in years, she wasn't waiting for approval. She was creating something for herself, by herself. Kody became increasingly irate in the meantime, ranting in his confessional, "She's undermining the family. This isn't about business, it's about control. She wants her independence, which means less loyalty to me." In actuality, though, Christine's independence was motivated more by self-love, empowerment, and survival than by loyalty. When she told her children the news one evening, she gathered them in the kitchen. "We hit 10,000 orders," she said, her voice trembling with excitement. "But it did. Because I believed in myself." The kids applauded and gave her a firm embrace, and for them, it was more than just business. It was about seeing their mother grow into a stronger person than she had ever been. With piles of packaged goods behind her, Christine stood triumphantly in her kitchen as the episode came to a close. I want to run my business my way, she said, smiling, and I finally am. But long shadows were cast across Christine Brown's backyard as the autumn sun slowly sank over the Utah mountains. She had spent the entire day packing boxes in preparation for the big move to Flagstaff, which had been decided upon weeks earlier, but the tension in the family hadn't completely subsided. Christine had persuaded herself that moving to Flagstaff would provide her with a new beginning, but not everyone agreed, particularly her daughter Aspen. Aspen's face was tight with annoyance and fear when she arrived at her mother's house that evening. She entered and saw the mess of labeled bins and half-filled boxes piled against the walls, and Christine gave her a warm greeting with a weary but optimistic grin. Christine said, "Hey, sweetheart," and extended her arm to embrace him. "Mom, we need to talk. And we need to talk seriously," Aspen said, not in the mood for small conversation. "Okay, what's on your mind?" Christine nodded, her grin wavering. "I know you keep saying it's for a new chapter and a better life, but is that the whole truth? Or is this really about Dad and everything falling apart with the family?" Aspen asked, crossing her arms. "Why are you really moving to Flagstaff?" Christine hesitated, surprised by her daughter's directness. She had always respected Aspen's strength and directness, but it hurt to hear the question phrased so harshly. Christine said quietly, I need something different. I've sacrificed so much for this plural marriage and for the family's unity, and now, look at us. Everyone is dispersed, divided. I can't keep pretending everything's fine when it's not." "But moving to Flagstaff won't magically fix that," Aspen said. "Do you know how hard it's been for all of us kids to keep adjusting? We already grew up watching you go above and beyond for Dad, while he gave Robyn most of his attention. Now you're uprooting everything again. What about Truly? She's still so young. How do you think she feels about all this?" Aspen's voice rose. "Truly is resilient. She'll adjust, just like you and your siblings always did," Christine said, her eyes welling with tears. "I thought you, out of everyone, would want stability for Truly instead of another upheaval," Aspen said, shaking her head. "That's the problem, Mom. We always did. We always had to adjust to whatever Dad wanted, whatever kept the family dynamic going, even when it hurt us. For once in my life, I want to do something for myself. I want to find happiness, even if it means starting over in a new place. If I stay here, I'll keep falling into the same patterns with your dad, and I can't do it anymore." Christine wiped at her eyes and spoke in a trembling voice, saying, "Flagstaff isn't about running away. It's about finally choosing myself. I understand that you want happiness, Mom. Trust me, I do. You deserve it after everything. But do you even realize how much we all look to you? You're the glue for so many of us. I'm scared this move is just going to rip us apart even more," Aspen said, her expression softening but not entirely releasing the tension. "I love you, Aspen. I love all of you kids more than anything. This move isn't about abandoning you. It's about showing you and Truly that it's okay to demand better for yourself, even when it's hard. I need to lead by example. Otherwise, I'll be teaching you that it's okay to live in unhappiness, and I can't do that anymore," Christine said, taking her daughter's hands and holding them tightly. Even though she made an effort to hide them, Aspen's eyes began to well up with tears as she gazed around at the packed boxes and the place she had once called home, knowing that her mother had already made up her mind and that fighting it would not change it. Aspen said softly, "I understand it, but I don't like it. I don't want to lose you in the process." "You'll never lose me, Aspen. No matter where I live, I'll always be here for you. That will never change," Christine said, drawing her daughter into a close embrace. For the first time, Aspen felt that her mother's decision to move to Flagstaff wasn't about severing the family, but rather about finally learning how to heal. The two women stood in silence, holding each other, the weight of years of sacrifice and longing pressing in around them. But Mary Brown took the decision that had been simmering inside her for years. She left Arizona and moved to Utah to start a new chapter. After years of pain, complex family dynamics, and countless attempts to save a relationship that had long since broken down, Utah was more than just a new place. It was a place full of memories of her upbringing, her parents' legacy, and her own history before she became a plural wife. However, this time, she wasn't returning as the old Mary, the obedient wife who was always waiting for affection that never came, but rather entering Utah as an independent woman determined to build a life she could finally call her own. Sister Wives' cameras followed her as she packed up her Flagstaff home, her hands shaking but her spirit surprisingly steady. She arrived in Parowan, Utah, as the sun was sinking behind the Red Mountains, bathing her family's inn, Lizzie's Heritage Inn, in a warm glow. For Mary, the inn had always represented strength and her ancestors' ability to build something out of nothing, and she stood at the doorway whispering to herself, "This is home. This is where I start again." Initially, the transition was challenging. Mary would frequently struggle with loneliness during the quiet evenings, so she would make a cup of tea, sit by the fireplace, and reflect on the years she had spent with Kody, the times they had laughed together, the love that had ended, and the agonizing knowledge that she had been clinging to something that had vanished. However, rather than wallowing in regret, she started to view those memories as stepping stones, and without them, she wouldn't have had the courage to regain it. Her days soon became full of new possibilities, and she threw herself into growing the inn, organizing community gatherings, and even establishing a small women's retreat for those looking for self-discovery and healing. Despite her quiet and reserved demeanor on Sister Wives, Mary's quick sense of humor and love of interacting with people often surprised guests. "I stayed in something far longer than I should have because I was afraid of what life would look like alone," Mary said, adding, "But what I discovered is that being alone isn't the same as being lonely. Sometimes, being alone means being free to finally find yourself." Mary hosted a vision board workshop at the inn one snowy morning, where women from all over Utah came to share their dreams and challenges. Mary stood in front of the group, scissors and glue in hand, and told her own story, not the edited version, but the unvarnished truth. Her comments resonated, and Mary recognized for the first time that she wasn't simply surviving but thriving, and that her journey could serve as an inspiration to others. The rest of the Brown family back in Flagstaff heard rumors of her change. Some were receptive, while others were doubtful, but Mary refused to let their views define her any longer. After years of looking for approval from those who couldn't provide it, she now only looked to herself for it. The inn grew with new flowers and guests as spring arrived in Utah, and Mary started hiking in the canyons, finding tranquility in the silence of the natural world. One evening, standing on a cliff with a view of the valley, she realized how far she had come. The woman who had felt invisible in her marriage was now in charge of her own destiny. She had exchanged tears for laughter, stillness for community, and waiting for action, yet the season of her life in Utah was one of regeneration rather than resentment or retaliation. And Mary Brown could actually say, for the first time in a long time, "I adore my life as it is." But practical, level-headed, and never impulsive, Janelle Brown had always been the quiet rock of the Brown family. However, in recent years, her heart had been calling her to a different place, and after years of juggling life in Flagstaff, she made the brave decision to move to a town in Arizona's Verde Valley, commonly known as just AV. The choice was difficult. Janelle had struggled for years to balance her desire for independence with her acceptance of Kody's plan for the family, and as their distance grew, she came to see that relocating to AV was her opportunity to create something that was genuinely her own. Janelle had assembled her sister spouses and kids for an announcement at Christine's rear patio one summer afternoon. Christine, who was already beaming with joy from her own new life in Utah, had asked everyone over, but there was tension in the air because emotions can flare up whenever family members get together. Janelle's voice was calm but passionate as she stood erect. "I have decided to move to AV. I have found a place there, and it feels right for me. I need to take this step for myself, to start fresh and build a home where I feel truly free," she said, turning to face each of the women. "Another move? Another separation? Do you realize what this does to the family?" Kody, who had been leaning back in his chair with his arms crossed, narrowed his eyes in the thick stillness that followed. "Janelle, I think that's incredible. You've always been the rock for everyone else. Now it's time to do something just for you. I support you 100%, Christine said, smiling as she leaned in before Janelle could reply. Gratitude softened Janelle's eyes. You know what, Janelle? I think you're brave. We've all sacrificed parts of ourselves for this family, but sometimes we forget who we are as individuals. Mary then stepped out, surprising everyone by saying, "If AV is where you find peace, then I'm behind you too." I know we've had our differences, Robyn, who usually remained cautious in these chats, agreed, adding, "But I admire your courage. It's not easy to step out on your own. If this makes you happy, then I want you to have it." Madison gave her a strong hug and whispered, "Mom, this is your time. Don't look back." Janelle's children, who had been sitting silently at the edge of the crowd, applauded with joy since they had witnessed their mother's hardships and understood how much she yearned for a fresh start. Evidently irritated, Kody stood and left, grumbling about how the family was disintegrating, but for once, his absence didn't have an impact. The ladies, standing together in unusual harmony, gathered Janelle and offered her support. The support from her sister wives grew over the next few weeks, with Robyn sending over decor ideas, Mary driving down with her to tour houses and offer advice on property, Christine helping her pack boxes and sharing memories of their early days in Lehigh and Vegas, and more. When all the wives eventually showed up on the day of the move, they laughed, hauled furniture, and shared meals as if nothing had changed. For a moment, the family felt complete again, not because of Kody's vision, but because the ladies made the decision to support one another. Janelle was filled with thankfulness as she surveyed her new house in AV. She had been afraid of being alone, but instead found herself surrounded by a group of ladies who, in spite of everything, still believed in encouraging each other's aspirations. "This is where my new chapter begins," Janelle said to herself as she stood on the porch that night. And she felt totally free for the first time in years. Greetings, dear viewers. Welcome to my channel. My name is Sabrina, and I hope you are having a great day. Please remember to subscribe to my channel if you enjoy the video.